Hi, welcome to the eSpark podcast. Today we're talking to Dan Meszaros, the CEO of BuyBoxer Services, an Amazon agency. Dan is a true Amazon expert, having taken multiple brands from 0 to 9 to 10 figures on Amazon. He started out at Maloof, cut his chops there, led them to multiple 9-figure sales growth, went over to Enso rings, the maker of the original silicone ring, and helped them grow their business, netting $2 million in sales in year 1 on Amazon. Now Dan works with multiple brands as the head of BuyBoxer Services, where he crushes the Amazon channel. He shares tips and tricks for succeeding on Amazon and how to set up your own internal team to succeed on Amazon in today's world. Let's dive in with Dan. I actually checked out your LinkedIn first and saw that you basically ran marketplaces at 3 really cool brands before heading to BuyBoxer Services. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of your progression there? Like what got you interested in Amazon? And then tell me about launching these brands.
Yeah, wonderful question. So my foray into the Amazon world actually happened by accident. I was a marketing student at Utah State University, and there was this young company here called Maloof, and I interviewed there, and they gave me this position on their marketing team. And I thought it was all, traditional marketing, right? I'm going to go there and I'm going to help work on packaging and merchandising and brand stories and blah, blah, blah. And I worked with the marketing team for like a day, and they were like, think you'd be a better fit, I feel like, to figure out Amazon. I was like, okay. And Maloof at the time was, they had some e-commerce strategy, but they had a very robust line of bedding products that were distributed through brick and mortar retail. And so myself and a few other members of the Maloof team created an Amazon team that built their Amazon and their general marketplace strategy. It wasn't just focused on Amazon, but essentially we launched quite a few brands onto the Amazon marketplace and grew it into a white label behemoth. We were doing absurd amounts of money, about $350,000 in revenue per day through our Seller Central account.
Holy shit, man.
So I just got sucked into the Amazon world just kind of by accident. I thought I was going to be this traditional marketer, and then sucked into marketplaces and realized, you know what? Marketplace is the place I need to be. It's a unique skill set that can be applied to so many different brands. And so from Maloof, I was recruited by a company a little bit away from us called Enso Rings. They make these cool little, now I'm going to flip you off on your own podcast. They make these cool silicone wedding bands.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, they're awesome. And they wanted me to help launch their marketplace strategy as well. And this is where like my career really really met a crossroads, because at Maloof, we were all about just, commodity products, price competing on Amazon, and this was early in the days of Amazon, Wild West. It was the only levers you really had to pull were like your images, your bullet points, and your price. Like sponsored products was barely becoming a thing at this point.
Yeah,
we were doing $350K a day in sales, and we spent like $300 in advertising a day, maybe. Yeah. Because it just hadn't come about yet.
Just so everybody listening knows, that's an unrealistic expectation in today's environment.
No. If you launch a brand with $300 on Amazon, you're not going to do much.
Yeah, you're going nowhere. I know people are going to listen and be like, damn, I can get a 1% ACOS?
Yeah. No. And so completely different experience. They're a premium brand within a category that's highly commoditized. This is a silicone ring that's $50. For $50, you can source 1,000 of these for $50 almost.
Yeah.
Is like, so the strategy and what I had to do to build a robust brand on Amazon within a very high price point category was completely different. And so, I got a great exposure into how to actually build a D2C brand that is going out and curating an audience and then feeding that audience into different funnels and then figuring out where those audiences convert and building really a product on Amazon that had no business competing. You could buy a 20 pack for $10 or one for 50. Like you think logically it doesn't make sense, but it made a lot of sense. We built a $5 million business on Amazon in a year in a premium product.
Can you dive into that strategy a little bit? Because I think a lot of people that listen are D2C founders that are like, anytime I go to Amazon, the Chinese just cut me off at the knees at half price.
Yeah.
Nobody buys my product. Like what kind, how did you differentiate? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, great question. So luckily at this point, Amazon had started to unload different features to us. This time that I was at Enso, we had gotten A+ content. They had just released brand stores. And there were a few other advertising capabilities that were coming out with like headline search. Sponsored display was not quite a thing yet. So we had sponsored products, headline search, and I think they had just released product targeting as well. So the things that really helped us set ourselves apart at Enso, first and foremost, like the product they make is just better. And so we did spend a significant amount of money on the education portion of our marketing message as to why we are better. And one of the key things that set us apart was we own a patent on the ability to actually chemically infuse silicone with precious metals. And so this ring that I'm wearing right now actually has silver in it to give it kind of a sheen so that it looks like a traditional wedding band, but has all of the benefits of a silicone ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd say like one key piece to any, and I mean, this is marketing 101, right? This is business 101. Any key piece to really cutting through noise is making sure you do have something about your product that's unique and that the quality is high, because at the end of the day, the consumer is going to purchase your Chinese competitor and realize that the quality isn't where they want it to be. And that will lead to a negative review, or it won't lead to repeat purchases, or it won't lead to brand loyalty, which is ultimately what we did really well at Enso. The other thing we did really well at Enso was off Amazon traffic to Amazon before brand attribution or any way to track it existed. We just rolled some dice, and the way that we calculated those dice as being justifiable was by looking at tacos as opposed to ACOS.
Totally.
Is okay, so we're sending Facebook ads in the world, we're sending Instagram ads in the world, and we're spending on YouTube. Is our tacos on Amazon getting better? Yes. Okay, we can assume that that is from our efforts outside of Amazon, but there's no way to track it. Thank heavens in today's world, Amazon is starting to allow us to attribute off Amazon traffic to our efforts.
Yep.
We've been asking for that for now 10 years. I feel like I've been asking for it for 10 years, but yeah, at that point, those were kind of the key things that we did at Enso. So everything within our branding, our A+ content, our imagery, everything just screamed to the consumer, we're different and we're better.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a ton of higher funnel activities happening outside of Amazon, driving traffic to Amazon.
And that's a big key point that I think a lot of people miss. They're like, oh, I want to be successful on Amazon. I'm going to spend money on Amazon and then just forget about everything else. You know, they have a terrible Shopify presence with no traffic, not building any brand awareness or anything like that. And the two really, like you said, now we're starting to get data that proves this, but the two really feed each other. The halo effect is so real. I mean, the customer purchase journey is omni-channel. You know, it's not, I only saw you on Amazon and I bought on Amazon, or it's not always that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously Amazon's the biggest product search engine in the world, but a lot of product searches still begin on Google, or they still begin with an influencer, or they still begin, you know, there's so many touch points. And yeah, especially with, I mean, yeah, this opens up a whole other can of worms, but especially with something like iOS 14 that has impacted our capability to target really as granular as we were able to before. It's all the more important to cast as wide of a net as you can, so that wherever the customer journey starts, you're able to be found there.
Exactly. And I think that's why social selling, I mean, you're looking at TikTok just exploding now. I think maybe even Scott, I don't know if it was Scott, but somebody did a TikTok the other day where they launched a product on TikTok and it just like went through the roof. And obviously that's not going to be everybody's story, but utilizing these new platforms to sort of, like you said, compensate for iOS and be where everybody is at all times is really kind of paying off. But ultimately, hey, I saw it on TikTok. I got to go somewhere to buy it. That's why you also got to be on Amazon. You got to be everywhere, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
Which obviously gets expensive. I mean, easier said than done, but
yeah, I mean, to that point, like to the people who are concerned about the budget, I just say get creative. And I know it's such like a cop-out thing to say, like, hey, get creative. Like, be consistent and creative. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
The two C's, remember those: consistent and creative. Don't just give a shot to TikTok once. Like, you don't have to pay a bunch of influencers on TikTok to promote your product. Like, just post consistently, and eventually something grabs a hold. We had one of our clients who, like, it was a complete accident. A person we don't even know was like, hey, look at this cool product that we found on Amazon, and demonstrated what it does.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day it had like 1.5 million views, and we blasted through all of their inventory. It went from like a really awesome situation to oh crap, we need to restock as quick as we can.
Yep.
But the supply chain's all jacked up, but whatever. You just never know. And so I'd say just be consistent and creative.
Agree. That makes total sense, especially the consistent. I see so many people coming to me. They're like, hey, I tried this for a little while. It didn't work. I tried this for a little while. It didn't work. And it's almost always, I tried this for a little while. And it's just like, man, anytime I see people be successful, like I just talked to Aaron Cordovez the other day at the Zulai Kitchens, and he's like, I started this 7 years ago. We weren't profitable for the first 3 years. Like, there's a million times he could have stopped and been like, I'm not doing it. Now he's a top 50 Amazon seller, like doing 100 million a year. Like, I mean, it's just success does not come overnight. It's like you said, be consistent and be creative.
As I say, I think there's a lot to be said about like having guts too. Like, not being profitable for 3 years, that's probably scary as hell.
Oh yeah.
Like, so scary. But he had the bravery to just kind of like keep on pushing.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, like, I think my wife would kill me if I went.
Yep.
What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, she loves me and supports me, and it's not about her, but I mean, just think about all the people around you that are like, your accountant's gonna be like, hey, is this business meant to make money?
Yeah.
So tell me about your journey into Buy Boxer services. So now you're here, now you're managing a bunch of brands, but I imagine you're doing it at CEO level. It's way different. Kind of what's your day-to-day like?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, the Amazon community is really small. Like, though I've never physically met you, I've seen your stuff for months, and I know who you are, and you know who Scott is. Like, all the Amazon community is really tight knit, and that's even like, it's even a smaller world within Utah, which is where Scott and I live. And so with my experience at Maloof and at Enso Rings, the Needhams always just knew who I was, and I knew who they were. And about a year and a half ago, they're like, hey, we have this agency and we want you to come on and be an operating partner for it and actually run the show. And so I decided to hop on. And so, yeah, we now manage 50 different brands on Amazon. We are a full service agency in that we don't have a focus just on PPC. We focus on what I call the 4 pillars of Amazon, which is SEO and listing optimization, PPC optimization, brand management and compliance, and operational excellence. Everything from the time you list your products to how those products are flowing in and out of Amazon FBA fulfillment centers, and everything in between is what we manage. And yeah, I personally am not managing any of the accounts. I'm managing a pretty,
not, right?
I'm managing a fairly robust team that has, we have teams that support each 4 of those functions, right?
Yep.
And all of those teams have directors, and all those directors report up to me. And so my day-to-day is very much more on the side of high-level strategy for accounts, people motivation, keeping the team accountable, building a great team, and assembling like the best experts in the world to come together and deliver great results for our clients. So ultimately, like, I measure my success by, are my employees happy and do they like working where they're working? And are our clients growing on Amazon? And if we're checking those 2 boxes, I'm doing my job right.
It's 2 very simple questions that are easy to ask, hard to execute.
Yeah. There's a billion subpoints under each of those that have to be hit. So
yeah, somebody didn't get their PTO day or, whatever. There's a million things that fall under that. And it's so funny. This is a slight aside for you and I, like you said, have never met, but we know of each other and we've operated in the same circle for a long time.
Yeah.
And you and I have built our businesses in the exact same way, despite having never communicated about it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so funny because when you talk about your 4 pillars, we name them differently at eSpark, but it's been PPC, and then we talk content and SEO, which is, I think you call it SEO and listing
optimization. Yeah.
Yep. Your operational excellence, we call it demand planning and forecasting.
Yeah.
And then what's the last one? Compliance, which is cases, brand management, getting all the
suppressions,
crud. Yeah.
All the stuff nobody wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. We have a team for each. That's so wild. I mean, I think it just goes to show that, like, that's probably, it is what it is. Like, how many different ways can you cut it up? And when people come to me and say, hey, Josh, like, I'm not big enough to work with you, or, hey, does Amazon really require all these teams? And it's like, man, oh my goodness, yes. Like, do you want the same person opening cases as you do that is like a high level graphic designer? Like, these are 2 totally different skill sets.
Yeah.
You have to have multiple teams to do Amazon. And I see these companies trying to, like, some of these bigger companies kind of grinding the gears and figuring it out and being like, oh, I don't just hire an Amazon person to handle our multi-million-dollar channel.
To give you an example, at Maloof, we had built this behemoth, right?
Yep.
Our team was massive, but that's because our founder at the offset knew that he wanted to build his team in-house. He would sacrifice profitability for having an office culture of people. He didn't want to outsource a dang thing. Mm-hmm. And so on my Amazon team alone, I had 4 people that worked on demand planning, 3 people that worked on cases, an entire content team with a massive studio, developers. We had a whole our total team of all the resources that fed into feeding this machine was millions of dollars in just payroll. And people don't think of it that way. They just think, oh, we'll hire some guy to come in and run our Amazon channel. No.
Yeah.
You can do that when you're starting, but I don't want to get too salesy because this podcast should be about adding value, but I'm going to put a small sales plug in there for working with an agency. Is you get all of those functions at a much lower cost than what would it be to build an entire team.
Yep.
And so looking at agencies, it's a bargain deal, albeit you don't get full-time attention. Mm-hmm. You have to be true about that my account managers manage anywhere between 6 and 8 clients. And so you don't get 40 hours a week, but what you get is very, very high level and good strategy and good execution for a fraction of what it would be just to hire 1 full-time employee.
Yeah, you're getting basically 5 employees in one right there.
Yeah.
You get your 4 pillars plus your strategist or your account manager. Mm-hmm. So you're getting kind of 5 experts with 1 communicator. And maybe it's not 40 hours a week, but it's very efficiently spent time with multi-level of experts. It's just, to me, it's a great deal if you're sort of in that in between of like, hey, we're not, I don't know, Nike, where we can just throw $100 million at building out this team and et cetera. You're in that mid-tier range where you're like, I need to grow, but I don't want to hire 5 people, add 5 headcount. You get agencies at great prices.
Yeah, if you're a big brand and you have budget to allocate to an Amazon team, just know that you should hire like an actual Amazon director. You're probably looking at 3 to 4 software pieces. You're looking at 2 to 3 individuals to support that director. And so if you have that kind of budget and you value having an in-office team, just understand what you should actually build to drive that system. Because if you really just hire 1 Amazon guy, you'll burn out.
Yep, you won't get what you expect from them. They'll be frustrated, and conversely, you'll be frustrated. So speaking of kind of that team and where you are positioned above the directors, with all those 4 levers that you mentioned, kind of what are you seeing in each of those levers? Like, what matters on Amazon now for demand planning, for content, for compliance, for PPC? Can you give me kind of the CEO view for each of those categories?
Yeah, so it changes every day, especially with
Yeah.
PPC. With PPC,
Yeah.
there's great foundational pieces, right? And those rarely change. But new features are coming in always. And so from a CEO's perspective, the thing that I focus on most within the PPC range is like, okay, what's the newest feature and how fast can we test it? And how fast can we get data behind that new feature that allows us to roll that out at large scale to all of our clients?
Mm-hmm.
Or the opposite, we decide this isn't worth it. And we inform our clients, hey, here's this new feature, but it's a bit of a nothing burger right now. So don't worry about it.
Can I throw out two answers for that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think one feature that you probably tested that crushed was sponsored brand video.
Absolutely.
And then one nothing burger was shoot, I even forget the name of it, but basically Amazon's QVC program.
Yes, Amazon Live.
Amazon Live, thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Amazon Live. Yeah, you're right on. Like sponsored brand video quickly became like, hey, everybody, if you're not developing videos right now, hire somebody right now. You can pay our agency if you want. We have a full Hollywood studio in house, but we don't care if you use us or somebody else. Just get compelling video content out there.
Yep.
Because yeah, sponsored brand video is great, and you see Amazon now allowing video placements to go beyond just the product search page. Like video placements are getting placed elsewhere, and so it's vital to have good video assets developed.
Preach 100%. I saw a sponsor brand video the other day. I was shopping. I wasn't even like working, and I saw sponsor brand video at the bottom of the page. As first bottom of search results page, and I'm starting to see it. I think I saw one the other day on a product detail page.
Yep.
And so it's coming, folks. Like you said, there are going to be more placements. Get your video done. That's a huge value add.
Yep, absolutely. So kind of continuing down that chain, as far as like those other four pillars within PPC, within SEO and listing optimization, that's stayed relatively steady in terms of the processes and kind of the best practices within it. So a lot of that from the CEO perspective is just, hey, is the function and the processes in place that are delivering results for the client? If there's anything that needs to be tweaked, let's tweak it. But for the most part, it's relatively scientific. SEO is.
When you say scientific, do you mind diving in a little bit? I don't want to give away your secret sauce, but maybe you could talk a little bit about, okay, let's say I'm doing a title. Are you guys the kind of guys that are like, hey, we're going to do brand name, product, descriptor, adjective, that kind of science? Or
our science depends on the stage of the brand, right? Because if they're a relatively new person to Amazon, our goal is to rank them for as many keywords as possible in a short amount of time, because you don't know exactly where most relevancy will be. Obviously, there's the giveaways. Like if you sell a silicone ring, the keyword silicone ring is probably going to be your most important keyword. But in an early stage, we're wanting to cast as wide of a net as possible and index for as many keywords as possible to start teaching Amazon's algorithm relevancy across those keywords.
Yeah.
But in a later stage, you focus down in on the 20 to 30 keywords that are most important, and you increase redundancy across your titles and your bullet points and your descriptions and all that jazz. And so it does kind of just depend on the stage of the business. But in general, yes, we have a fairly scientific method of the way that we write titles in terms of utilizing all of the characters and how we set those up. Brand name at the first or brand name at the back. We prefer brand name at the back. We prefer most important keywords within the first top lines, first two places. And obviously with certain products, that could be one word or like 3 words, depending on the product you're selling. But yeah, most relevant within the first line into adjectives and descriptors, brand name, go. But yeah, kind of depends on where they're at in their journey of Amazon.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like you said, new brand, we're going to focus on capturing all these keywords, training Amazon, hey, all these keywords matter, and then niching down to your 20 to 30 core keywords, increase the redundancy across the page to drive a deeper rank for those. And then obviously you're going to be running some PPC behind that as well. Yes, and that's kind of learning in the background too.
Yeah, a great example of this, and I'm going to pull on Enso rings again, is we had a Star Wars line, and I'm not breaking any NDAs here, not at all. Like it's pretty open. I just want to make sure that any Lucasfilms rights or whatnot. Yeah, they had a Star Wars line, and
Yes.
they currently have a Star Wars line, and the launch strategy with that Star Wars line, like intuitively you would think, okay, we got to focus on silicone rings and then this, that, and the other, and we cast a really, really wide net and discovered that there was really high conversion behind Star Wars accessories, Star Wars jewelry, Disney gifts for kids, Star Wars fan gifts, like all these like super long tail keywords that like maybe right at the very beginning you'd be thinking, oh, this is a silicone ring and we need to talk about its durability and we need to talk about its beauty and we need to talk about ring avulsion and how it protects your fingers, because that's what the silicone ring industry really like coaxes you into thinking.
Yep.
But really what converted was all of those long tail keywords behind Star Wars and gifting.
Yep.
And so that's where the keyword strategy changed and the focus within the bullet points altered. But without casting that wide of a net at the very first, we would have never discovered that. We would have just gone right into silicone ring talk, and it would have been pitted against these other Chinese sellers that don't have anything like what we have.
Right, exactly. And that's why I think, like you said, casting that wide net is so valuable to tell you, hey, there's a customer out there that might be searching for something that you solve that problem, but you're not necessarily aware of it. Because like you said, you could have been thinking silicone ring first, but really there's a customer out there that needed a Disney gift for their kid, and you solve their problem. And you might not have, I mean, I'm sure, you guys are smart guys, you're aware of it, but you wouldn't maybe have put that as high in the priority list.
Yeah.
If you weren't casting that wide net.
Yeah, it would have been somewhere down lower on the list, and we would have discovered it eventually. But what you really have to think of on Amazon is if you're not sure how the consumers are finding your products, the data will tell you quickly how the consumers are finding your products. And you need to be able to discover that as quick as you can. The sooner you can solve that equation is how does the consumer find me?
Yeah.
Then you can replicate and scale that.
Yeah, and then just pour fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
So we only have about 10 minutes left. I would love to hear what you had to say about, I think demand planning and compliance were the two others we had left.
Yeah, great. So yeah, we lump into one pillar what we call brand management and compliance.
Okay.
Because we put under the brand management umbrella, brand registry, any kind of IP disputes, like any way that somebody could come after your brand or Amazon could come after your brand gets lumped into that pillar. And, I would say 95% of our work is with a typical daily compliance issues that you see. This product got suppressed for one reason or another, or this shipment got stuck for one reason or another. Like that's 95% of what we deal with. But the other really big chunk under brand management and compliance that we deal with a lot is rogue seller management, because there's a ton of sellers out there that haven't controlled their distribution.
Yep.
Here's the number one tip for anybody who's starting an e-commerce brand right now, or any brand for that matter, is control your distribution. Back in the day, it was all about how fast can I get my product out to the masses and which stores carry my product. No, that is
spray and pray.
That is no longer the way of business. The way of business right now is control exactly who has your products, who has rights to distribute it, what channels they have rights to distribute it through. Control that, and it will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars of headache down the road. But yeah, that's the other big chunk we do is quasi-legal battles, if you will, of going and removing rogue seller management. And then within operational excellence, as you're very aware, the secret to Amazon, once you get the ball rolling a little bit, is to just never let the ball stop rolling. Stocking out can be a death knell to any success. And our Buy Boxer account is a really, really large Amazon account. We have 50,000 SKUs on our Buy Boxer account, and we've built a software system that helps us manage all of that, and it's calculating and demand planning for us. And so all of our clients that we bring in on the services side, we just plug them into that software, and it helps just flow everything into fulfillment centers. What we can't do is obviously we're not in touch with or have any expertise in what your particular suppliers are doing and what their supply chain issues might be that they're facing wherever you have your product manufactured. But as soon as your product is stateside or ready to be shipped, that's a process that we help get all of the inventory flowed into the FBA fulfillment centers. And then we're monitoring sales velocity and restocking accordingly to make sure that you maintain healthy IPIs and that you're in good standing with Amazon so that you can continue to have inventory limits increased and can scale with your business.
Right. Because at the end of the day, you can't sell what you don't have.
Yep.
And we're definitely seeing that. I mean, what with the COVID supply chain issues. And I mean, I'll try to make this the last question, but given, we're seeing China do more lockdowns, so we're seeing supply chain crunch there. You've got the Ukrainian war supply crunch. We've got inflation. Obviously, there are some macroeconomic headwinds for e-commerce. A lot of people are like, oh, this is the death of D2C. This is going to tighten up, or this is going to hurt a lot of D2C businesses. Kind of what is your reflection on, the next couple of years? What do you see coming? If you do see it tighten up, how do we handle it?
Great question. Whether you want to look at this as a positive or a negative, and I don't mean to go political at all, but the capitalist system finds a way through. People like money. People like to make money. And if something gets in the way of them making money, they figure out another way to make money. And so, it scares me that China has continues to shut down ports. And I'm a little bit nervous about what's happening in Europe. But I've seen lots of opportunities. We have brands that we are managing right now that have been on on super high velocity looking for other individuals outside of Asia that can manufacture their products. And so they're diversifying their supply chain.
Yep.
And that's such a big key. I can think of one person that we manage in particular that sells hats at a insane velocity, thousands of hats a day. COVID's crushed their supply chain, not their velocity. Their sales have been able to keep up, but now it's the restock on the back end. They were able to find a supplier in Mexico that's able to do a very similar product, almost exactly the same quality, same materials, et cetera, et cetera. Nice. And then just ship that straight into Texas for much less expensive than it is across the ocean. And so I think there's lots of opportunity for the Western Hemisphere in general for us to explore how we trade and utilize each other to kind of support what's not able to come over from the ocean. I also hope that diplomatically that our leaders of our countries can realize that it's best for the entire world to not shut down the world economy. And we need to keep it alive and well. And so I hope from a policy perspective that in the next couple of years, we see some breakthroughs of, I don't know what it is. I'm not a politician. I'm not a political scientist. So in the meantime, what does that translate to for you as an Amazon seller? I think it's just get ready to raise prices for the next little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as your pricing strategy across all your marketplaces is uniform, so that you're not suppressing your own listings on Amazon. Like, make sure that your pricing strategy is uniform across all channels. This is a global increase, and let's slow down velocity for a little bit, and let's see if we can ride this wave out and come out the other side of it with a reinvigorated economy and D2C vibrato, if you will.
Nice. I totally agree. Makes lots of sense. Diversifying your supply chain, riding it out. One man's problem is another man's opportunity, staying alive for the short term to see those long-term gains.
Yeah.
Dan, I really appreciate you hopping on. I think this is you just unloaded lots of massive value add for anybody that works on the Amazon channel. Perspective, how to think about it from a high level down into, even we got into some nitty gritty down to how to optimize a title, right?
Right.
So thank you for sharing all this value. It was a total pleasure having you on. And look forward to hearing more from you. If anybody wants to reach out to you or utilize BuyBoxer services, how do they do it?
Yeah, buyboxerservices.com is the website. Little teaser for you. We are going through a rebrand. So in about a month, that won't be our name, but for the
Okay.
time being, buyboxerservices.com is how you can reach out. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Dan Meszaros in Utah, I believe. So if you look up my name and see that I'm in Utah, you found me.
Nice. And you've got that nice BBS, I think, background, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. There you go. Look for the guy with the BBS background, Dan Meszaros. Am I saying that right?
Meszaros.
Meszaros. There
Yeah.
you go. All right, Dan, thanks so much for being on, man. I appreciate it. Wow. Dan is a true Amazon expert. He's right that you need a specialist in every aspect of your Amazon business. The same person that's doing your inventory and demand planning can't be the same person that's generating your content. You need an expert in each field. Thanks for sharing that, Dan, and thanks for sharing your story with Enso, Maloof, and now with Buyboxer Services. Like and subscribe to catch the next episode of the eSpark podcast.